Hey, welcome back to Axe Root Homestead. Today I am pruning my fruiting trees. We're going to do apples, pears, we're going to do a peach, and I think we're going to do a plum, maybe a pomegranate. I already have a video that I've done before talking about the different shapes that you can prune your trees into. Today I am pruning a lot of very young trees, which means minimal pruning. Really, if they're shorter than 5 or 6 feet tall, you kind of risk doing more harm than good. That being said, I'm looking for diseased material, anything that's decayed, anything that's rubbing or causing friction between branches, and anything that's dead. We want to remove all of that. I'm also going to take off the suckers, so let me show you what that means, and we'll go through each one bit by bit. Let's get started. All right, this is a baby Reliance peach. I planted this last summer. You see all of that red wood, those saplings coming out of the base, the tree trunk down there? We got to get rid of those. Reason being because even though it's very healthy new growth, that is sucking a ton of energy and nutrients from the main tree, and it's going to actually result in a lower fruit production. So we're going to get rid of those. Some people do use those sucker cuttings as scion wood or grafting material, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to remove them today. All right, doesn't matter if it's a peach tree or an apple tree or a pear tree. We're going to remove the suckers the exact same way. We just go close to the trunk of the tree and leave enough for a little node or a knob to scab over. I usually do like 1/4 of an inch. When they're coming out of underground root structures, I can just go close to the soil line for that. And then I see there's a teeny tiny little sucker over here behind that you probably can't see, and take that out. So nice clean cuts on all of those. Okay, we don't want anything raggedy. This tree is so young. Again, I'm not really interested in doing a lot of pruning. But anywhere where there's damage, like this here, I can see that some deer or maybe even a bird broke this off. So we're gonna take that and just make sure that nothing is rubbing or causing friction. I see there's a couple leftover peaches, so we'll get rid of that. And it's nice and clean for spring. Starting to remove a few of the lower branches. I don't like my fruiting trees, especially when they're young. I start taking off the side branches, the lateral branches that are below my waist height. I just think it's too low. It attracts rabbits and other little critters. So I want to get those out. It also opens up the floor for the guild that I will ultimately put underneath here. But I'm not going to go remove a bunch of lateral branches and then have the tree end up dying because I pruned too much. So my rule of thumb is wait until the tree has enough branches that I won't be removing more than 1/3. If I want to start cutting off a few now, which I do and I did, I'm going to make sure that I don't take all of the ones that will ultimately be removed, because again, I want to take no more than 1/3 of the branches off at a time to prevent over pruning. Does that make sense? All right. So over the winter time, I noticed that this tree was starting to collect some bagworms. I don't know if you can see that there, that thing that's dangling. It's a bag moth cocoon. We're gonna pull that off. This is what it looks like. They kind of look like these little log cabin cylinders. And what this tells me is we need to attract more sparrows to this area. We're gonna take those two off. The sparrow house is here, so that's good. Hopefully someone will move into that soon. One thing that you can do to reuse these cuttings, if you want to, is you see how they're starting to bud out? You could take this inside, put it in a vase full of water, and it will force them to bloom. And then the fragrance from the blossoms will fill the home, which smells really nice. All right, so we went through, we pruned the apple, we did pears, peaches. We have one more left. I'm gonna show you a plum. I luckily didn't find any disease on the trees, which is something to be hugely thankful for, but I do wanna show you something that I found earlier in the winter when I wasn't pruning. I walked past a new tree, which is new nursery stock for me. I brought in a persimmon last year, and when I planted it, it seemed to be doing well. It was fine. It's still fine. It's just that now I've discovered some black knot fungus. That gets cut off ASAP, several inches away from where you see the problem. Shouldn't affect the rest of the tree. It should be fine. But let me show you what that looks like. If you see this in your orchard, get rid of it very, very quickly. kind of hard to see here in the backyard. This little Italian plum is doing really well, but I do not like all of these suckers at the bottom, so I'm going to take care of that. And then I'm also going to cut just a few of these here and here where they're rubbing and can cause friction. Eventually I will choose one of these to be my main stem. You can see more about shaping in that other video that I referenced earlier. So let's get these off. So behind me is one of my Honeycrisp apple trees that's gotten really tall now, probably 15, maybe even 20 feet. We are not going to prune this today. Reason being because at this point I am done shaping for the most part these lower branches. Unless they become a problem in traffic areas, attract deer, that sort of thing, I wouldn't remove limbs. Okay, that's something that I shape when they're younger. From here on out, what I'm doing is removing and thinning, crossing smaller branches. I'm removing any diseased material, again, any spots that are causing friction, anything diseased, decayed. So from this point on, it's really about maintenance and trying to thin it out a bit so that the canopy is receiving tons of sunlight all through the canopy there and able to ripen fruit properly. This is a Russian pomegranate, and as you can see, the suckers have been allowed to grow. What's happened is it's formed a shrub shape. I'm actually going to begin to prune this back into a tree. I have no excuses for why this looked like that. I think I forgot to prune last year, so all the suckers have been let go. It was a shrub. You can grow pomegranates as a shrub, but I'm looking for a tree. So I cut off all the suckers at the base, took out any of the inner branches that were suffocating the main trunks there and causing light to not really get in there, and now we have a tree shape. So I think that concludes all of the pruning today. I thought it goes without saying, but maybe just in case, make sure that you are cleaning your pruning shears after pruning sessions, especially after pruning trees that have diseased material, before you go on to the next tree. If you just clipped a diseased one, sanitize. Bleach works great, dry them fully. But this is something that you want to do in the wintertime. Ideally, I would do this in zone 7A, central New Jersey. I would do this at the end of December, early January. I'm late this year, but I'd rather get it done and out of the way than skip another season. And clearly the pomegranate thought so as well. Thanks so much for watching.